Greetings fellow gorehounds and welcome back to another Blood Splattered vlog. So I just got back from Don't Breathe, the new pseudo-home invasion movie by director Fede Alvarez, who for those of you who don't know was the director of Evil Dead 2013, which was hands down one of my favorite movies of that year, which unfortunately I'm pretty sure was one of the years I didn't have time to do a top 10 list, but needless to say, Evil Dead 2013 would have totally been on it. But that's besides the point. The point is, I really liked his previous movies, so I was really looking forward to this one. And holy shit, he totally knocked it out of the park again. This movie is like a fucking masterclass in suspense. From the way it's filmed, to the sound design, to the ever-escalating performances, to even the way the script is constructed is just a perfect exercise in just pure suspense and tension, but capped off with the kind of unrelenting brutality that only the director of Evil Dead 2013 could possibly bring. And I especially like how throughout the movie, despite how awful things got, I still found myself empathizing with all the characters involved. And this includes Stephen Lang, by the way. Like, even though he was fucking murdering all the main characters that I grew to love, he himself is played so broken and tragic and just, you just kind of want to give him a hug. Even though you know if you did, he would totally snap your neck. Because he's a man's man and a fucking badass. But a badass with a really tragic past. Which of course I'll go into when I talk about the spoilers. And believe me, there are many things that can be spoiled for this movie. There is quite a few plot twists that I didn't entirely see coming. And at least one reveal that legitimately shocked me. Though I have heard there was at least one trailer that completely spoiled all this stuff. Thankfully I avoided that trailer, but just in case, try to avoid the marketing for this movie and just go see it blind. See it blind. But goddamn, speaking of blind, can I talk for a minute about Stephen Lang? Holy fuck, you guys, this guy's performance in this movie is fucking amazing. The actor completely disappears into this blind war vet to the point where I actually forgot that it was a performance at all. I even forgot I was watching a movie at all. Because he felt so real and so raw and so honest. Which is surprising to say because this movie is super amped up. Everything is turned to 11. And that includes the suspense, by the way. This is like fucking Hitchcock on steroids. Fucking Hitchcock on steroids. Now that sounds hot. Jane Levy, who was also the main character in Evil Dead, is the main character in this movie too, and she also does a really good job. In fact, I'm starting to feel like she might be my favorite up-and-coming scream queen. There's just something about her eyes that just imbue empathy. Like, I can't look at her at any point in this movie without just wanting to reach out and pull her from the movie so that she could be safe. Which is perfect for the lead in a horror movie like this. One in which she goes through a whole lot of shit again. Not necessarily as nasty and brutal as shit as she did in Evil Dead, but some nasty shit nonetheless. Especially in the last act. Holy crap, that shit gets gnarly. I will never look at turkey basters the same way again. But the other thing that needs major props is the way this movie is constructed. Like how they have this nice flowing single shot at the beginning of the movie that sets up the entirety of the house. Or at least a collection of shots that were designed to look like one fluid shot. And it sets up most of the important locations, including some important items, such as weapons that will be utilized later in the movie. Some of which that are actually hidden from the characters themselves. So it's kind of like the age-old Hitchcock two people talking with a bomb under the table. We, the audience, know that that weapon is there, but the characters don't, so we are waiting for the moment where that's gonna fucking blow. Which, according to Hitchcock, is pretty much what suspense is. And my god, this movie does it amazingly. But outside of the camera work, there's also the sound design. Because this movie is dealing with a blind character, all the sounds in this movie are heightened. So there's a stronger emphasis put on all the sounds we make when we just move around. Like the creaking of floors, the ruffling of our clothes, and of course, the sound of our breaths. Hence, Don't Breathe. But on top of that, the mix is so well done that at the points in the movie where there were like a jump scare or something, you weren't quite sure when they were gonna hit. Because it was telegraphed enough to where you knew something was gonna happen. But when you combine it with the camera work, you weren't entirely sure where it was gonna come from or at what point. So as a result, for me personally, I found myself jumping quite a few times. And every single time, it was really well earned. But to be clear, this isn't like a jump scare movie. Like I said, the name of this game is mainly suspense, tension, and fucking brutality. Oh my god, when the blood starts flowing in this movie, and it starts flowing rather quickly, it does not stop. It's fucking beautiful, man. You just kind of want to reach out to the screen and touch it and then rub it all over your face because it's so red and gushing and gooey and delicious. But I think I'm officially exhausted what I can talk about before we get to the spoilers, so needless to say, Don't Breathe is 100% a recommendation. I love this movie. It is very much a strong contender for my end of the year list. And I sincerely hope a whole lot of people go out and support it because I want to see more films by Fede. And with that, my fellow gorehounds, let's move on to the spoilers. Alright, so as some of you probably already know, this movie is about a group of teenagers that break into a blind man's house in order to steal the money he got from an accident settlement so that they can get the fuck out of Detroit. But some of the cool things this movie does is that it sets up right away that this guy lives in a part of town that's fucking abandoned. And this movie looks like it was filmed on location because this neighborhood looks like a fucking shithole. The kind of shithole that I can only imagine must be real. So right away, this movie does a good job of setting up that even if something bad does go down during this breaking and entering, there is no one around to hear it. So there's no one to call the police, say, if they're screaming for help. So you have these characters, they have shitty home lives and they really want to get the fuck out of town, but they don't have the money, so they've started stealing shit from like rich people's houses. And they get a tip that this one blind war vet in this one shady, empty part of town has a shit ton of money stashed away somewhere in his house because his young daughter was run over by a car, and in the lawsuit that followed, he was granted a very large sum of money. Money that we find out that he keeps in his house because to him, the money essentially represents his daughter. And we also learned that he was a Gulf War vet, so he is combat trained. In fact, the reason he is blind in the first place is because he was blinded by grenade shrapnel. So these characters are like, fuck it, the dude's blind, let's do it while he's in the house. Which, as you can imagine, is a fucking mistake. Because once he wakes up and realizes they're there, the shit hits the fan. The blood flows, the tension is high, and not everyone makes it out alive. Oh yeah, and did I mention that at some point in the movie they reveal that he's actually got the woman who killed his daughter chained in the basement, and he's injected her with his semen with a turkey baster so that she can give birth to another child to replace the one he lost? Like, Jesus Christ, I did not see that coming, and holy shit, that was fucked up. Like, that was super fucked up. But what's amazing and kind of speaks to how good this movie is that despite that awful thing going down, you still kind of feel bad for the blind war vet. Because you can kind of empathize with where he's coming from even though he is fucking violating this girl. I mean, you obviously feel empathy for the girl. You want her to fucking get away. You want the main characters to get her out, but you know this is not gonna end well. Like, Jesus Christ, this movie is an empathy machine. Which is funny because it's a fucking brutal thriller. Just God, I can't praise this movie enough. This movie is fucking awesome. And by the way, there's still more to the movie. Like, that woman chained in the basement thing happens about halfway through. So even though I just spoiled that, there is still more to see in this movie. And most importantly, there's still more to feel. Like, I was fucking like gripping my pants while watching this movie because it just got so fucking intense that I felt like I was gonna like fucking break my fingers. And when the movie ended, like, I could feel my body relax a minute, because I had not realized how much every muscle in my body had tensed up until the fucking credits started rolling and it was just like, oh, okay, oh shit, man, oh, crack, ugh. Oh man, that movie really got to me. I seriously cannot wait for Fede's next film, and I really hope that Jane Levy goes on to do more horror films. Fuck, I hope Stephen Lang does more horror films. Because this one was awesome and fucking perfect, and I hope you all go see it. And with that all said, peace out, my fellow gorehounds, and I'll catch y'all later.